Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We'll get started in just 1 minute here. In the meantime, I will just go through a little housekeeping for you. Just so everyone knows, the session is being recorded. Following today's session, you will receive a link to the on-demand recording. You'll also receive an invite to the next series where we're going to talk about rising rates and market compression, so stay tuned for that. And at the end of today's session, Dan and Jalaire will have a Q&A session, so feel free to submit your Q&A in the questions area, and we will start answering those towards the end. And Jalaire and Dan, if you are ready, you are good to go.
All right. All right, guys. So let's get started. So today our session is called Seal the Deal, Keep Loans from Falling Through the Cracks. Super relevant with the challenging conditions that we're all facing in the market today. And I am super excited to be joined today with one of my industry friends and one of our great partners of Total Expert, Jalaire Garillo. Jalaire has over 10 years in the industry. She started off in a loan officer assistant role, which I love. She's been focused on building a brand and marketing strategy for the last 7.5 years, and have now been at Prosperity for a little over 3.5 years now. And that's in addition to being a wife and mom and being a badass in the gym and weightlifting. So, Jalaire, one of the things that I love about you is your ability to get into the street, out in the trenches with the sales folks, and even some of the cool stuff that you were telling me you were doing with some of the real estate agents as well. I think it's so important, and I know you find so much value, getting out into the trenches with your teams. But um, tell me a little bit about Prosperity. Tell the viewers and the listeners, about Prosperity and a little bit about their business model and some of the differentiators.
Yeah, so super excited to be here. I love TE, and Dan, you are one of my favorite people. So when this came up, I was like, yeah, let's do it. PHM is unique. The business model is a little different. PHM is a Home Services of America company, so it's a Berkshire company. And with that comes a lot of real estate offices. So we have brands across the country, Long and Foster's, Berkshire Hathaways, and many, many others. Those are probably the most popular. All in all, we have about 46,000 agents that are associated with the Berkshire brand. So we are unique in that we have that sort of built-in relationship with our real estate partners. So there is that sort of difference, I think, between us and other mortgage lenders out there in the market, is that real estate realtor partnership and that relationship, right? So for us, the number one customer is our real estate agent because we partner with them so often. So that is probably the biggest differentiator between us and everybody else. But aside from that, we're everywhere except Hawaii. I'm waiting for that to happen, right? Like that would be great. Because as Dan said, I'm on the road a lot, and that would be a great place to go visit. But we're everywhere. We're licensed in every state except for Hawaii. We don't necessarily have MCs in every state, but we are everywhere. We're licensed everywhere. We got about 460-ish MCs, probably another 200 LOAs. MCs are loan officers. I probably should have said that at the beginning. So my team, myself, we're working with about 700-ish people inside of our technology stack. So a lot with Total Expert. And that's that in the trenches you were talking about, getting in there with them and working with them on the technology and how they can leverage it to build relationships.
Awesome, awesome. So let's jump right in. So today we're gonna cover a couple things. So we're gonna start out just kind of setting the stage, talking a little bit about market dynamics, and kind of setting industry baselines. We're not gonna get too deep into some of the challenges in the market. I think everybody's been beaten over the head of that, but we'll set some industry baselines, and then we're gonna talk, a bit about um, jump right into, how do you really take advantage of every opportunity that presents itself today? Obviously, deals are not falling out of the sky as they once were. over the last 2 years. So it's really important to really take advantage of every single prospect and really nurture your past clients as well. So we're going to jump into that, and then we're going to talk about Total Experts Customer Intelligence Platform, coupled with our Journey automation, and really some of the value that Prosperity and some of our other partners are seeing through that. And then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So Jalair, let's do it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about marketing dynamics and trends. So we're obviously coming off of a significant refi boom, primarily a purchase-focused environment. Certainly plays a strength to Prosperity and some of the unique model with the Berkshire relationship there. But really everybody, all of the originators all across, the nation are really focused on, those referral partner relationships, particularly real estate agents, and really how they can, optimize that business. Really how can they go from coming off of this massive refi boom trend and, really take their referral partner and look at opportunities to grow that network and really take advantage of that. So Jalair, anything that you want to kind of comment on these numbers? Do these align, some of the percentages we're seeing in 2022? I would say most of the lenders that I'm talking to, they're seeing anywhere from 70% plus, especially in a distributed retail channel for purchase business today. Is that kind of aligned to what you guys are seeing at Prosperity?
Yeah, maybe even a little bit more too, just because of the model that PHM has. We were purchase driven during the refi boom, and we're still purchase driven today. Not to say we didn't take advantage of the refi boom, but that purchase driven model doesn't change for us just because of the way that we're built. But what I will say is as we shift more into that purchase focused market, we are, and our MCs are, trying to figure out how do they leverage their referral partners even more so than they have in the past. So what value add can they bring to the table to continue to kind of drive those numbers forward?
Awesome. And I think it's it's important to note that this doesn't seem like it's a blip through the remainder of 2022, but in the it's projected 2023 and even into 2024, it's going to be a highly saturated purchase market, more so than refinances. So the next one really that we wanted to touch on is just industry standards from a national retention rate standpoint. I think it's it's always interesting to look at these numbers and see really when you compare to other industries how the mortgage industry really has just never really caught up to some of those other industries to really build what I would call kind of customer loyalty and making sure that we're really optimizing every customer and making a long relationship with that customer over their lifetime. Looking at certain statistics, if you acquire a first-time home buyer, you typically have about 10, 11 opportunities to really serve that customer through their life journey. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity that's still left on the table when looking at these numbers. I mean, really, at 23%, somewhere floating between 20 and 25% year over year. It's basically 1 out of every 4 customers is only coming back to you. So still a lot of opportunity to really, make sure that we're maximizing the value of every customer acquired. And we're going to talk about, maybe some ways that we can, help provide some value there today. Jalair, I don't know if you guys have done a lot of measurement as far as, recapture, retention rates within your organization, but do these numbers seem to kind of align with, what you have seen historically?
I think so. And I can only obviously speak for what we do here at PHM, but we're on the road, right? We're on the road a lot. We're talking to people in the industry. I'm talking to the people that are here at PHM throughout the country. And we are really trying to put a big emphasis on the clients that you already have, right? Like, I think what happens is, and you said something a little bit ago where, the mortgage industry seems to be a little bit further behind with the retention. And so I couldn't agree more, because we get so in the weeds with what's currently in front of us that we forget what we already did. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, I think, later in the slide deck. But it's just so important to take a look at what you've already done and how can you mine that and move that forward and retain those customers. Because in my head, you can retain those customers are going to give you customers. And so that retention is so important, and it's a huge focus here at PHM right now.
Yeah, and I think when we look at 2022 and where those numbers will really end up, I think I would project it to start even decreasing because we know it's a purchase market. We know the influence that real estate agents have over directing consumers to what lender option they choose. So I would project that actually even probably be decreasing in 2022 and potentially even beyond. So it's really, how do we combat that? How do we support the relationship between the originator and the agent that potentially brought that initially acquired that customer, and making sure that we're helping bring value and stay in front of that consumer well after the transaction, to make sure that we have the next opportunity to serve that customer, whether it's a purchase or a refinance or some other opportunity. All right, so let's kind of reset. Obviously, we're in a super competitive market. Every opportunity matters. Deals aren't no longer falling from the sky. We got interest rates, high sixes. Some people are even telling me they're quoting sevens over the last couple of weeks. We have, fewer buyers in the market. Customer sentiment's at all-time low. We got, high competition all over the place. You got, more probably rate shoppers now than ever, trying to figure out where they can get the best deal from a pricing perspective. So really, how do we combat that, and how do we do it at scale? I think it's really important to make sure that every opportunity you have to serve a customer, whether that's a past customer or a prospect, that we're making sure that we're optimizing that experience and really putting our best foot forward and staying in front of that consumer and nurturing them over the long haul. So let's jump right into really looking at the gaps in the customer journey. So to me, it always starts with looking at holistically from end to end, from top of the funnel all the way through, continuing nurturing that customer over their life, their lifetime, and making sure that you can surface the next opportunity. Jalair, how do you guys look at your customer journey and figure out where can you bring the most value to your originators in filling some of those gaps? And where has some of your focus been, entering kind of this purchase focused market?
So I think the most value can be had on all aspects of this line, right? This entire journey right here. But we tend to put the most focus, most effort, most work into that beginning stage, that lead stage right there, and then that customer for life stage, so that post-closing stage. I am a firm believer that we tend to leave those two buckets, and we tend not to pay attention to them. We don't nurture those two sides as much as we should, because we are so stuck in the prospects that are coming through the system. We are so stuck with the transactions that we've got currently in our pipelines that sometimes it's like the door closes and that's what it does. It just closes. And we get consumed and we get, I don't have time. And at the end of the day, we do have time, right? This is your business. This is your way of life. I'm assuming you, as an MC, you are doing this for a reason. And we're in the business of building relationships. The relationship doesn't end when the transaction ends. And I think we often forget that. And so we spend the most time on either ends here. And we train the most on either end, right? Like, we've got lots of lead nurturing journeys. We've got a very, very big post-closing journey that brings a variety of components into it. We're including the real estate partner because that's a value add, right? We're finding non-transactional moments to reach out to our clients in that post-closing journey, because the non-transactional moments lead to the transactional moments. And so we put the biggest emphasis on either side of that. Not to say that the middle isn't, that foundation in the middle isn't there, but that's when you're paying the most attention to your clients. So we build that foundation. It's good, it's solid. The MCs are doing the work because they're talking to clients in that spot. And so we're trying to bulk up the either end of that.
Yeah, I love that approach, because if you really look at, if we had a timeline of, let's just say, days over, kind of that middle portion too, it's typically the shortest portion. I mean, you can get deals closed in 20, 30, 45 days now. So it's taking some buyers, 3-6 months just to find a home. So,
Yep.
and then you get the whole trailing aspect. I mean, we always used to say, there's a huge opportunity is the customers being serviced. I mean, a transaction's typically 30 to 60 days, right? And you got, somebody may sit in a servicing for 4, 5, 7 years, typically on average. So I agree. I think the top of the funnel and really the bottom of the funnel, I'll call it, are really the most interesting to really surface opportunities.
Yeah.
I think, what we tried to do at Total Expert is really build a canvas of trying to really, develop these journeys to really help our customers kind of fill these gaps and along with our best practices and give all of our partners really a jump start to be able to do that. And I mean, you guys have taken those journeys to the next level and customized them and really put your own stamp of them and built your own content. But really, we try to give our partners as much opportunity to really start really filling those gaps right out of the box and as much of a turnkey solution as possible.
Well, and
So let's, yeah,
this slide right
no,
here was actually the inspiration behind lots of journeys that we have in the system. I mean, if you've been with TE for a while, you've probably seen this slide before, some iteration of it since journeys rolled out. And so as soon as journeys rolled out and this slide was put in front of me, this is actually how I build journeys. Now each journey has its own version of this line, but finding the gaps, finding the holes through that one, like for example, my post-closing journey, like what are the gaps? Where are the holes? Where can we make the most impact? And it is sort of like a line graph, and we're just constantly going back to it and layering more things in and making it better. But that when you were speaking to like you all set the foundation, it's actually more than that, right? Like this was the foundation that set me off on building, the number of journeys that we have in the system. So yeah, the foundation is fantastic, and we use the foundation TE provides us, but we put our own spin on it.
cool. So let's talk about how do we fill some of those gaps using data and intelligence and our journey automation to really help start filling those gaps. So let's shift gears and really jump right into customer intelligence. So this is kind of the fun stuff. So how do we look at customer intelligence? So let's start with just talking about our vision for customer intelligence a little bit. Really, we look at it as data ultimately unlocks opportunity. We know more about our customers now than really ever before. The challenge is really uncovering their needs, goals, and their intents and taking the appropriate action in order to best serve them. The fastest way to close these gaps in your customer journey is really finding the right approach to using this data and making it actionable. Data is awesome, but if there's no real way to make it actionable and ultimately surface meaningful conversations for your originators to have at the right time and deliver the personalized message through journey automation and marketing engines, then it's just data that's really useless. So our goal has always been, how do we bring a multitude of different data sources and constantly enrich the customer profile. So not when you acquire a customer, right, you're going to build that initial customer's profile, but it doesn't stop there, right? After you fund that first transaction, you got a pretty good idea of what that customer's profile is at time of funding. But how does that's going to continue to change? And we got to leverage data to really continue to enrich and update and enhance that customer's profile so that when you're looking at that customer 3 years from now, you really need to understand how that customer has changed. Did they get another job? Is their credit profile changed? And all those types of data and insights ultimately can drive meaningful and personalized messaging and allow your originators to kind of surface the next opportunity to serve them. Jalaiah, can you just talk about maybe how you look at, kind of the customer profile and how important you think it is to really make sure the originators have this, I'll call it a 360-degree view or a complete really customer profile so that when they pick up the phone with a customer, they can have really a meaningful conversation?
Yeah, so the way we teach it at PHM is the very first time that you talk to that client, that lead, or even, anybody that you're going to stick into your database, that first conversation should be logged. This is your get to know you conversation, which is super impactful. And you should be logging those types of conversations within the contact record through the duration of that relationship, because the data is in there, right? The loan information is in there. And then hopefully that will trigger off some insights and that will help you figure out what action you need to take. But if you don't have a full picture of who this person is, all of that information is pointless, right? Because this is not just about the transaction. It's not just about the next deal that they could potentially have based off of whatever insight you're getting off of that data. It's also about the relationship too. And so for us, we really are trying to build that 360 picture, right? Yes, we've got data from our LOS and we've got it from, you know, the loans that are coming in for that client. But what about the data from the relationship? The two need to be together. So we're teaching that, we're training it, we're utilizing Total Expert to build those profiles up. And then using that information to get to that action standpoint right there, right? And then just that's usually up to the MC on what action they want to take. We obviously build things into journeys for them, but we do try to give them free reign to, you know, build those relationships how they see fit. But we want to make sure they have a full picture.
Yeah. And I think that, the key is that, every consumer's life changes, financial profiles change, every single month after the transaction. It's so
Yep.
important to make sure that we're continuing to keep that updated so that we understand at every point in time, how that customer's, financial life has really been impacted so we can ultimately, surface the next opportunity. So, I mean, look at appreciation trends over the last, several years, right? I mean, consumers have now more equity in their home ever before. So if you had a customer that you transacted with, 2 years ago, chances are if you knew the value of their home now, and they haven't transacted over the last couple of years, they have a ton more equity than they ever have before. So it's so important to make sure that you're constantly keeping that, customer profile updated using data and insights.
Yep.
So let's go into some of, just using customer intelligence. So the shift in the market means that, the future of lending is really here now. We have this data, we have access to this data. How do you really turn this data and make it actionable? And that's really a huge part of our focus. The Total Expert is really turning data into actions so that originators can ultimately surface more deals and create opportunities. I think when the way we look at it is when originators have access to the data and we can turn that data into marketing automation, personalized messaging, and ultimately surface the most relevant information to the originators, ultimately they make additional opportunities happen. So let's talk about some of our core alerts. So Total Experts rolled out what we call our customer intelligence starter package. This really is a set of 4 core alerts. So I listed my home for sale. So customer goes and puts their home for sale on the market. That is a key insight and obviously a high intent impact that they're gonna need a transaction. I applied for a mortgage, so customer goes and applies with another lender, so a competitor in the space. That's obviously a high intent. They're already down the path with another lender. So we want to make sure that we surface those to the originators to try to bring them back to prosperity and the original lender. They've had an increased equity. So, consumers have more equity in their home than ever before. How do we make sure that we understand how their equity is increased from the original transaction we did and use that equity for other purposes? Maybe it's a home improvement, maybe it's debt consolidation. So that is another alert we offer. And then really interest rate driven. So how do we make sure that as the market changes, obviously we're in an increasing rate environment now, but the people that are transacting today could be a great opportunity next year when rates do normalize and come down a bit. So making sure that we're prepared for that. So this alert would ultimately tell you when the market shifts enough to be able to reach out to that consumer and offer them a rate and term refinance. So Jalair, I know you're part of our early adopters on this, and we're going to talk a little bit about and dive a little deeper into some of the ways you use it and some of the value that you guys have seen using the starter package. So before we jump into that, let's just talk about really a little bit more fundamental on really how these insights and this data really turns into action. So really from the time an insight or alert happens, we really, obviously we're updating the contact profile, continuing to enrich that customer profile with that data and insights. And there's really these four kind of segments of where that funnels. So one, you can use that data insight to segment your customers. So, more effectively segment to provide relevant and personalized content at scale. You can, initiate automated journeys and campaigns based on that specific alert or data. So super relevant, super personalized messaging. And it allows your originators to have a priorities list of customers that are really closest to the dollar, so that they can be as efficient as possible. So somebody that gets their mortgage, credit pulled in another lender, that's a super high intent action, super impact for an originator to immediately, jump on that consumer and have a conversation with them. So, Julia, just to talk about segmentation for a little bit, are you guys doing any segmentation at Prosperity, and how do you look at kind of segmenting customers to really deliver personalized messaging at scale?
Yeah, so we segment quite a bit at PHM. We do it in a variety of different ways. It really all just kind of depends on what the end goal is for us, right, with that group of people. And we're using it in conjunction with Journeys. We're using it in conjunction with Campaign Builder. We're using it obviously with Focus View. But I mean, I could give you examples of how we segment the data, but we're doing it all of the time because I think what happens is people go into their databases and it's just too much. And so if we can segment things down into a more digestible way, then they're more inclined to go in there and they're more inclined to use the tools that are in the system. And so we're constantly segmenting. We actually meet quarterly, I want to say, and we talk about how we're segmenting the data in the system. What are the goals? What activities can we push when we do that? So we're doing it all of the time. Some of it's market related, like what's going on in the market right now. How can we segment people into certain buckets so we can get certain information to them or conduct different sales activities to that group of people? So we do it constantly. It would be hard probably right now to narrow down one exact instance, but we're meeting on it regularly, because honestly, everything in the system can't run efficiently if we're not segmenting out the data. So our messages aren't going to be heard the way that they should be heard. We can't get to in the weeds or in the details if we're not segmenting things out. And so I think if you're not segmenting your data, it's a huge miss, because in order to get that message across correctly, you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really the only way to do it at scale. I mean,
Yeah.
If I rewind, 5 years ago, even, when we would kind of badger originators, hey, are you leveraging your database? Have you gone and tried to filter your database and stuff like originators? I mean, once you do some amount of volume, and these most originators now, especially from the last 2 years, have massive databases now.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible to have.
Yeah.
Database of 5,000 customers and do, an annual mortgage checkup with 5,000 consumers. It's just not feasibly scalable. So, I think one of the big components of this is really you're giving your originators the right time through these data and insights to reach out to that customers and have a check-in at the right time. And also, if you, from your segmentation, be able to deliver automated marketing out for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a game changer for us. You have to segment that data out in order for it to actually be useful when your databases are large. So it kind of defeats I don't think everybody doesn't get the same message. That's not how it works. So that's how we look at it anyways. Everybody deserves their own message.
All right, so let's jump in and dive a little deeper on really, fundamentally how this all works. So let's kind of break it up into simplistic terms here. So let's just take our, mortgage inquiry watch. So this is, customer Lydia. So Lydia is an existing customer, or she could be a new prospect. Maybe she applied on your, apply now link, and she's maybe in the home shopping stage. And Lydia goes and applies with another lender ultimately signaling, this market inquiry watch back into the platform. So, through the journey automation, we're going to immediately send an automated email, send an automated text message to Lydia, ultimately trying to generate an inbound call back to the originator. We're also going to notify the originator with some, whether it's a call script. I know you guys do bullets, and I love that idea, so that they don't feel so robotic, but
Yep.
directly to the originator so that he can immediately react to this data and insights, and really try to, get him back to his lender. So it's really as simple as that. Any comments there?
Yeah, so I mean, not necessarily, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but we are taking these alerts and we are getting real like in the weeds with our journeys, with the automation, with the lists and the alerts that are going to the MCs, with the call scripts, or for us, in our case, we don't do scripts, we just do talking points. But we took the foundation of the journey that Total Expert had, and we said, you know what, we need to give the MCs notification that this is actually happening. We need to give them a little bit of time to do some research on this client so that when they do make that phone call, they have the full picture. We need to utilize texting. We need to utilize emails. We need to utilize tasks and outcome-based tasks, because the outcome on that phone call is going to be different. And then the communication after that is going to be different. We need to incorporate video. So we partner with BombBomb to get videos in there. We need to wouldn't it be great if we could follow people around on the internet when their alerts trigger? And so we're working with partners on that side too, to build into our emails these pixels that allow that to happen. So we are really, how do we let the real estate partner know? So like, we're really trying to add layers into this journey so that it's providing value to the MC, it's providing value to the agent, if it's applicable, and it's providing value back to the client. And so just, at the end of the day,
Awesome.
just nurturing it post-close, right? Post-close nurturing. This is what's important to us right now. So we're doing all the things that we can in this journey.
I love that. I love that. I think the one thing that I also want to hit on is, you guys, Prosperity is making a good investment, right, into the originators and providing them this technology, providing them this data and insights,
Yep.
and all the work that your team is doing to create these phenomenal journeys to really nurture these relationships. But it also, you're creating tasks for your LOs, right? So you're able to hold your originators now accountable in some
Yeah.
sense too, right?
Yes.
Which, yeah, traditionally has not been able to be accomplished in a distributed retail model. So this really is a way for not only lenders to provide tremendous value to their originators, but it's also a way to make sure that originators are doing the right things based on this high intent, customer. So leveraging tasks and measuring each originator, and are they completing the tasks? Are they completing them in a reasonable amount of time?
Right.
I mean, somebody gets their mortgage pulled in another lender. That's, to me, that's a 24 to, at most, 48-hour time to react.
Yeah.
You know. So, okay, great. So let's talk about journeys for a second. So we talked about data, we talked about insights into the platform, but really it's really about feeding those data and insights into, Total Expert's, journey automation platform. And like you mentioned, Total Expert has provided kind of this, best practices journey, but each lender partner of ours has an opportunity to really make it their own in this kind of no code environment. So you don't have to go to your IT staff and ask them to, do a bunch of, technology things to be able to react. You're able to do that and take that in your own marketing hands, and make modifications, see what's working, what's not. You guys have done an incredible job really personalizing this to the Prosperity brand, and doing some even creative things like you were saying with digital ads and retargeting. So taking it even beyond just email and SMS, but also doing retargeting and some other things to really make it kind of an omni-channel experience.
Yeah. Yep. So when we are building journeys, this one and others, it really is like looking at our ecosystem, our marketing tech stack, and figuring out what other players can come into this to enhance this journey experience. But I have to say, what really is the game changer on our journeys is we typically pilot with a small group, and we typically pick a group of people that we know are going to give us feedback, right? And so I'm not an originator. I'm not in the field. I'm not making these phone calls. And so I want to know from them, like, is this doable? Is this impactful? Is the timing right? And so that usually, we're constantly leaning on our originators for feedback in these journeys, because it's ultimately it's their name, their brand that's going out. So that really actually becomes the biggest game changer, is one, how we look at our ecosystem in our tech stack and how we can leverage different partners in the journeys. But two, what are our originators saying? How are they reacting to it? Do they love it? Do they hate it? What do we need to change? So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So, hopefully everybody has seen that, really this is the only native turnkey solution. We can provide a tremendous amount of value in a very short amount of time to all of our lender partners. So let's leading into that, let's then shift over to some ROI. I mean, gosh, everything's about ROI these days. If you're going to spend $1, especially in this market, you better be able to show some pretty clear ROI path on this, and certainly this is one that we could do so pretty easily. So let's talk about some of the results that Prosperity has seen, and just to simplify it, I really just looked at the month of September, and only looking at a single alert, which is the mortgage inquiry alert. So just staying with that theme through this presentation. And let's look at some of those results. So you have about 500,000 customers now being monitored. So just in the month of September, you've seen over 2,100 opportunities surface for your originators.
Yep.
So that's a pretty solid number for just 1 month. So these were opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have noticed from their past client database, which ultimately has resulted in about 85 units and 34 million in, I'll just call them leads or prospects created. And that's just through October 7th. So again, this was the month of September opportunities created. So that originators could be having conversations with them and things outside the system. So I would expect these numbers to even grow even further. But that's a pretty solid numbers. And then from a pure applications, one that have already converted into applications, 61 units and 25 million in volume that would have other been lost.
Yeah.
Jalaire, what's your executive team saying about some of these numbers?
So we love it, right? I mean, these are missed opportunities that, that's how I see this, right? So that's how we're all viewing it. The 85, the 61, the 2,100, like, how would we have known? How would we have been able to pick these out? With the NCs that have databases with 6,000 people, they're not going to be able to figure this out. And so we're bringing these up to the surface and creating these opportunities that were not there. And so, this is a game changer. We love this. We're getting good feedback in the field, which I know we'll talk about in a minute, but we're so far,
Yeah,
who wouldn't love to see opportunities?
I mean, if anybody would pass up an extra 25 million to their production right now, I don't think that's happening. So
Right.
super excited to see the results you've been seeing. So just to set some baselines on Total Expert. So these are some of the percentage that our typical clients have seen that have kind of implemented our journey automation platform and our best practices throughout the platform. So I want to lead into what you just mentioned. So there's a lot of this is about how to provide as much value and a much competitive edge to your originators these days as possible.
Yep.
We know, especially in down markets, originators are going to move around a lot. So providing showing clear value that any organization is providing the originators is super important right now. So this is super relevant time to talk about this. So tell our listeners, like, what are your originators saying since you've rolled this out, and even your loan officers assistants, because I know that's such a big part of your model.
Yeah. So we, I've got two really great examples, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to these examples. The first is from one of our top producers, President's Club every year, very consistent with his production, and just doesn't like technology. Like, it's just not his jam.
Wait,
He
an
never,
originator that doesn't like tech?
I know, crazy. It's mind blowing. And so, he's always like, don't sign me up for this, don't sign me up for that. And, we did this for everybody, right? Everybody at PHM has Total Expert. So when we rolled this out, everybody got it. And he emailed me a couple weeks ago and he goes, I know I annoy you. I know I drive you crazy, but I just want to let you know that this credit thing, that's what he called it, is amazing. I have gotten like 4 applications in the past few weeks. A couple of them were for clients that closed like 5 years ago. This is a total game changer for me. This is the best thing you've ever rolled out. And I was like, can I frame this and put this up? Because every time we roll something new out, I'm just going to shove this right back in front of your face. So for my team, that's fantastic, right? But for him, it's changing his business. And so that is really impactful. And, I think everyone could probably relate to this one too. And just to put it in context, I've been with PHM for 3.5 years. We have had Total Expert maybe a little bit longer than that. And I had an MC about 3 months ago call me and say, how do I log in to Total Expert? Fun fact, we don't log in. We have single source sign on. So you can obviously tell the conversation started really well. And once he was in and he was using it, he was like, wow, this platform can really change my business. And I'm sitting here internally rolling my eyes, of course. And I was on the phone with him today, actually, before we got on this webinar, and he goes, that inquiry alert thing, it's great. I had somebody get alerted on it, and then I called them. I closed that loan like 6 years ago, and now they're filling out an application. I can really see how this Total Expert thing is going to be a game changer in my business. And I was like, yes. So it's obviously the ripple effects are happening. We're hearing really great things from the field. And when you have people who don't use technology or don't believe in it start to believe in it, it really is fantastic. And you can kind of use that to kind of inspire other people to embrace it. So we're hearing good things, and I love what we're hearing so far. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's great stories. One of my old CEOs used to say, what can we do to just add one more unit to every originator in the company, and we would run performers on what that would look like, and the profitability just of the entire company just changed if you did that. And honestly, like, this is it. It's here.
yeah,
Like, if you want to add production to every one of your originators in your organization, you need to be using this platform.
yeah.
So thanks, Jolaire. It was
Sure.
awesome conversation. Hopefully our listeners enjoyed it. And let's open it up to some questions. And I got to bring up this little guy here and see some questions. So, all right. So first question, how do or what are the best ways to identify the customers I want to monitor? So I'll take this one, Jolaire. So within our customer intelligence platform, we've built an easy way, no code way that you can really build the criteria of the customers that you want to monitor in each of these alerts. So really down to the alert level, you can really determine which customers you want to monitor. Do you want to go back 3 years on your past customers? Do you want to loop in prospects as well? So for each one of these alerts, you can really build a criteria around what customers you want to monitor. and then ultimately that that puts them into the monitoring subset for each of those alerts. Are there any other data requirements or integrations needed to trigger this? No, the answer is no. There is a minimal set of data needs. All of our core integrations through point of sale and LOS systems all support that minimum requirement, so there should be zero additional needs. So again, this is the only native turnkey solution on the marketplace that is can be really just turned on. You get all of the alerts as well as the journey automation that we're kind of handing it all to you in one turnkey solution. How are the alerts surfaced in the platform? So we clarified some of that. So again, the alerts will come in, they'll be surfaced on the contact record. There is also the LOs will also can receive what's called a user notification. So they'll get an email, and they'll also have what's called inside the platform is a focus view. So when originators log into the platform, they can go to the focus view and really look at these high intent customers and which alerts have fired on those customers. So it's a very easy dashboard for them to kind of prioritize their day and know which customers are the most meaningful to talk to. Okay, how do I learn more about how to leverage this and the associated costs? So current customers, you can reach out to your customer success manager directly, and they'll walk you through the entire program, how to get signed up, timelines, and the quickest way to get you guys up and operational. If you're not a current Total Expert customer, there'll be information in our follow-up email from this session on where to go and how to learn more, and we'll make sure that we engage with you. This one's for you, Jalaire.
Oh, okay.
Great story from your originators. How did you get them up and running with customer intelligence and continue to adopt the Total Expert platform?
I feel like that's two questions.
I think there's two
So
questions.
with CI, we did a slow roll. We picked a group of people who we knew were going to provide feedback to us, who would be open to kind of being the guinea pig on something like this. I think we all know when we're rolling out technology that there are going to be hiccups. And so, we obviously make them very aware of that, but we did have a group of about 40 people, and we rolled it with them, and we did that for a little bit before we rolled it to the larger group. That allowed us to really get the bugs and the kinks and everything out by large in part. Obviously, when you go from 40 to 500 MCs, it's a little bit different as far as getting them into the alerts and adopting them and getting them used to them. We do weekly bulletins, right? So we're constantly in their face. Like, don't forget, like, you've got this, and here's a video on how you could complete this task. And did you make this phone call this week? And we're just constantly, we send them text messages every now and then. Like, we're also trying to find ways to engage them and get in front of them. I think for those of us that are in the game of driving adoption, that it is in fact a game. And you're constantly playing it and changing it and getting inventive of how you put it in front of them. I will say that CI has actually opened up the door for more adoption of Total Expert as a whole in the platform, which is interesting to see. So because we're utilizing Focus View, we're utilizing tasks. So the alert is there, but they have to go into a few different places to get things done. So that's helped to drive adoption, but we could have like a whole 2-hour session on driving adoption, right? But I think that probably answers the question.
Yeah, that's great. Does Total Expert have a maximum amount of contacts it can handle per account? The answer is no. There's no limit to how many customers, referral partners, or any contacts that a single originator account can handle. Whether that's whether it's monitoring for customer intelligence or just inside the customer management platform itself. I'm going to throw this one at you, Jalaire. How do you best balance quick contact versus the risk of being creepy?
Yeah. That's a tough one. We keep our messages pretty vague and generic. We treat them more of a touch base. We don't flat out say we saw you listed your house, but you didn't call us. Right? So we're really using them as a touch base, as a jump off point to that conversation that that MC is going to have. The email goes out first, followed by the task to make that phone call. So the timing looks appropriate, right? We also, teach our MCs, when you pick up the phone, this is a soft touch kind of conversation. This is not a go hard, I'm trying to get a transaction conversation. This is a check-in. How are things going? How are things going with your house? Hopefully you have a profile on this client and who they are and what they've done in the past with you, and you can piggyback off of that information. But we do keep things very vague, very generic, because we don't know, right? We don't know everybody's situation. We don't want to assume things.
Yeah. The credit one's always interesting to hear feedback directly from originators, because they're like, my customer would never, go to another lender.
We get that all the time. And I'm like, actually, that is what is happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, your brother actually went to another lender and was shopping you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. That looks like all the questions we have. Becca, any final questions?
No, unless something comes in right now.
All right. I think that's a wrap. Jolaire, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. To all our listeners, really appreciate you guys taking the time to spend with us. And if you have any follow-up questions, again, we're going to send out the email with some additional information. As always, you can hit me up on LinkedIn if you want to, have a personal one-on-one. And thanks for joining us.